Welcome to Lifted, a podcast where we talk about all things health and fitness for busy working mums and women who are trying to navigate their way around parenting, work and relationships whilst wanting to prioritize their own fitness and body goals. We'll explore ways to help you achieve and maintain a lean, strong and sexy physique that is essential for helping you carry out your day-to-day tasks without burnout. We'll talk about relationships, self-love, and even dive into the mindset side to help you shift your perception, change your paradigm from one of inability or lack of to one of pure abundance and endless possibilities to enable you live your best, healthy, and fit life, being the best version of you that you can be. I'll share my journey as a bodybuilder and talk about everything it's given me in terms of achieving a strong mindset and a will that's totally unbreakable. I am your host, Carol West, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Lifted. And today it's my absolute pleasure to welcome somebody who is very special to me, somebody who I just don't call a friend. She's somebody who's helped me become the person I am today, really. And she's very special to me. She's a good friend, and a lot of you will know her because you've seen me on her socials, and you've seen my socials filled with her face as well. Because now we work together, and it's a lovely friendship that we've got. We've got something special. I would like to introduce you all to my coach, my mentor, and my friend, Lucy Anjuna. So, Lucy, nice to have you on the pod today. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Lifted episode, and I would just like to start by asking you to introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell them who is Lucy really and what you're about. What do you do? How long you've been doing it for, and why?
First of all, thank you very, very much for having me on your new podcast channel. I feel honoured, and it feels bloody brilliant to not be the host of a podcast.
But it does, yeah, because you're always hosting everything, aren't you?
That's it. So I feel like I just kick back tonight. I've got my brew.
Yeah, you can chill tonight.
Pepper pig mug, and
lovely.
And also thank you for your lovely words, because it's like you say, it's a beautiful synergy, what we've got, and I feel blessed to have you in my life, if I'm honest. And I feel exactly the same. You're not just a colleague and a client or former client. You are my friend, so you're my buddy. So
absolutely, yeah, we're great friends.
To chat, because I feel like when we do get together, when we've been on car trips and stuff like that, there's a lot of layers that come out of us, and I think there's been quite a few moments between us where we've gone, wow,
that's me. Yeah, it's like we're the same person. It's like, what?
It's like, like the stuff that we've been through, and sometimes, like, I think we both chat about things, don't we? And you look at me like, holy shit, like, that's right. And I look at you and go, holy, I didn't realize that you'd been through that. So I feel like, we work well, don't we? In terms of sort of revealing each other's sort of stories and experiences that we've been through. So who am I and what do I do? I'm coming up to the big 40. I'm a 39-year-old single parent to a beautiful 3-year-old. I am currently the CEO and founder of an online body transformation company, as you know, because you now work alongside me. I've been running that company for the past 7 years. We can probably talk a little bit, more about that in detail, but I started that as a side hustle when I was working as a corporate marketing manager in a full-time office job. And little did I know that when I started that, it would turn into what it has today, servicing hundreds of women, not just in the UK, but internationally as well, and helping them to, transform their lives, not just with their health and fitness, but also with their confidence, and actually empowering them to go out and be bold as women and actually do things like what we're doing today. So that's who I am in a nutshell. I'm also the holder of a British bodybuilding champion title. But so that is me. I'm a mum. I'm from the Fylde Coast in Lancashire. For those of you listening, you'll know what a beautiful part of the country it is. And I've basically lived here all my life, and yeah, I'm loving life at 39, living life on my own terms.
Brilliant. I love that. That's absolutely fantastic. It's really nice to get to know the person behind the name, and to know a bit more about you. You've given us an insight of who you are. What I'd like to ask you now is, going back to everything that you've described, it's very much helping other people sort of thing, and it's very much focused on trying to make other people feel good about themselves and get the best out of their lives.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, what made you want to do this? Have you always had this vision, or have you always wanted to be this type of person, the person that you are today? Have you always wanted that for yourself?
Do you know what? I think I can't say that there was one thing that led to where I am now. I think with the coaching side, I would say that there's probably two elements really of who I am that's kind of led me to wanting to be a coach. And I think what I started off doing in terms of coaching, it's evolved into something completely different. And I think the reasonings why I wanted to become was I was a personal trainer when I first set up this business. But I think really it was born through this kind of innate want and sort of, I guess, my purpose really, which is to make sure that other people don't feel like shit.
Yeah.
And I can't explain it, but I've got this thing in me where if I sense that someone's feeling crappy, even if it's a stranger, I will kind of say something or do something to sort of make them feel better in the moment. If I'm around someone and I feel like they're feeling embarrassed about something, I will come up with something to make them not feel embarrassed, and basically just to help people feel better about themselves. And I don't know whether it kind of links back to when I was younger, and I grew up where I went through a period of sort of being picked on and being bullied because I had red hair. And I do think maybe that has kind of been sort of something intrinsic in this, in that I don't want other people to feel like shit. And there is a part of the coaching that we do which helps people with their confidence, and that is the sort of the empathic side of me, and it's that need to want to help people and to make sure that they feel good about themselves, and to empower them to go ahead and to completely change their life in terms of the health and the fitness, because that ultimately will make them feel happy and make them feel confident. But I think the other thing as well is I've always been this person that has not, I don't know, in some instances I feel like I've been a bit of a black sheep in many areas of my life, and I've always wanted to go against the grain. And I've got a really intense, passionate side to me. I've got a very strong, passionate nature. I mean, I grew up you'll appreciate this, like, I know that you've spoken to me about your background growing up, and I know we come from very different backgrounds, but I think there are similarities. I mean, when I grew up, I was a kid in the 80s, early 90s, and it was an era where, it was like a no excuses era. It was you suck it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. I get that.
It's like there wasn't room for moaning. There wasn't, all this,
you have to get on with it.
You get on with stuff, and it's like now I feel like people are wrapped in cotton wool, and I just feel like that element of my personality, that sort of that grit and that determination, I think that also comes into it, with the bodybuilding side of things, with the bodybuilding coaching, and it's that sort of that I just see. I think what it is as well is that I see potential in people, and I want to help them reach their potential, because a lot of people don't have that self-belief like we have. And it's just that sometimes that all somebody needs is just a little tap, and to get them on that right path, and then they're off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
I'm going to
that's
back
okay.
to you as well, but I think the nutrition side for me, now this is a biggie, because I think what I realized is when I had my own transformation journey in the past, when I've kind of tried to get myself in a better state of health, and I've tried to get fitter, and you know, I've been a personal trainer, I've seen what's been done wrong, and I've seen where the gaps are, and that is where I've brought together this service where not only do you get the, you know, the fitness side and the sort of training when it comes to the exercise, but it's the education about nutrition, because that for me is the big thing that people are missing, and that is what I wanted to help people with. And there was a big turning point for me in terms of the nutrition side when my dad got diagnosed with cancer, and that sent me down the rabbit hole in terms of what foods are we putting in our body that is, you know, causing us to be so unwell? What, you know, what are we ingesting? What are we doing? You know, there's got to be something that we are missing here. So it was also about that, and thinking, right, how can I help other people to basically extend their lives, and to also not see, you know, their families go through things, you know, like I did. I'm sort of interested as well, kind of, you know, what was it for you that wanted to get you into coaching?
So for me, really, it was something. I didn't really set off wanting to do coaching, I'll be honest. It was something that I really just transitioned into because of the environment I was in. And by environment, I mean like in the gym setting, or being around people who are very much into fitness. And even back home, when I was still at home, I was still like a big gym goer. And I had friends who were personal trainers, and I used to kind of help out a bit in terms of helping them organize their classes and stuff like that. But I didn't really see myself doing it, because it's interesting now you're mentioning you helping people to see their potential. I don't think that I would have done as much as I have done, was it not for you recognizing that potential in me and helping me to push through the barriers that I had in my head. Because you saw something obviously there that I didn't really see in myself. Because I've grown up being quite shy as a person. I wasn't really like out there. I do want to like blend in. I really don't like standing out. And I don't like, you know, showing myself off as whatever it is that I've achieved. I'm not that person who like shouts about their achievements or what they've done. And so for me to go from that to being a coach who actually has to stand in front of people and deliver things like this, for example, like who the hell would have thought that I'd start a podcast, for example, you know? But
look at you now, though.
But as you point out, it literally just takes that self-belief, and it does help if you have somebody who helps you see what you actually don't see in yourself. And a big part of that, I believe, was also down to the nutrition side of things, because I was going along just fine with my life before. You know, there was nothing wrong with the way I was living, but I just wasn't living to my full potential. I wasn't achieving the things that I was made to do. And almost kind of had a mental block, because probably I wasn't getting the right stuff in my body, and if I was, they might not have been in the right amounts or the right sort of things that I thought they were doing me good, but obviously they weren't. And I felt like since I changed my lifestyle around and started getting the right stuff in me with your guidance, and you know, that self-belief, and like being, you know, somebody else having that belief in you to tell you that, you know, you can do this and you can do so much more. It doesn't actually just have to end at a certain point. That's where like everything just changed, and you know, I took off, and so here I am.
You absolutely have taken off, and I'm really excited to see what else is in store. You know, it's
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Once you get that momentum going, it's like, well, do you know what? The world's my oyster, and there
Absolutely
literally no limit, is there? So
yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, it's great. And I just want to rewind a bit and take us slightly back. When you introduced yourself, and obviously you told us your background and what is you do currently, but because I know you, I know that there was something else there that you didn't put in, so I'm going to put it in for you.
Put it in.
And it's your corporate job.
Yes.
So you did work a corporate job alongside your business. You're running a business alongside your corporate job,
Yeah.
which for most people is something that even I used to look at it and think like, how the bloody hell is she managing to do all this? You know, like it's mental. And she's a single parent as well. It's like, wow, this is a superwoman. So I just want you to talk us through the transition from going through the corporate job to working as working full-time as your own boss. How did that go about, and how did you find that? How did you manage to juggle all these balls in the air? How did you do that?
I think, to a lot of people listening or watching on the outside, people that have watched my journey probably think, oh, well, that it looks like it's been fairly easy. It was really, really effing hard. But one thing that I would say about, having been in the corporate life, because I've had that academic background and I've had that sort of project management and campaign mentality, it has actually prepared me in probably many ways that I didn't even realize it would prepare me to come into the role now, as a founder of an online, fitness company. And actually, when they say like all roads lead to now and everything happens for a reason. And I just think like without that corporate job and without having been in that role in marketing and PR for 18 years, I wouldn't be the coach that I am today. But I think what it is I wouldn't be the business owner that I am, because they're two very different things. But how I transitioned, as I mentioned, I was running that business, set it up 7 years ago. And it was at the time me working as a PT on the gym floor, and I was working evenings. This was before I had a child, so I'd go to work, go to my 9 to 5, I'd come home, I'd have booked people in, I basically spent all my time, trying to get the word out, putting leaflets out, putting posts out on Facebook, nothing like I do now. It was really, really amateur. But it was, word of mouth, and it was literally just getting people in for the odd hour here, the odd hour there. So I'd come home, get some tea, go back out to the local gym. I've managed to, negotiate with a local gym where I didn't have to pay any ground rent, which, as you will understand, is if you set off as a PT and you're doing it as a side hustle, it's very, very difficult.
It's very hard,
as a full-time job. You go and work for somewhere like, one that I won't say a name, but commercial gym, you're looking at usually around £400 a month rent, aren't you? Depending on, where you're at.
450, 500 sometimes even.
Yes. There's no way that I would have been able to do that. Now, at the time, that was great for me because it was my passion. So it wasn't really a business, even though it was set up as a proper business, but it was a passion. And so I was going out and doing, working till 9, 10 o'clock at night, charging 20 quid an hour, coming back home, going to bed again. You've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And then it would come to Saturday and Sunday, and again, I'd be doing the same thing. So I was probably working 7 days a week. So when people, these days, these young kids, they come on the scene, don't they? And they say, oh, well, I want everything and I want it now. And it's like,
no.
I think there's value, isn't there, in actually working your way towards something and kind of putting the legwork in. I feel like appreciate it more, and you get much more experience, don't you? So to be honest with you, there was only so long I could do that because especially as a female, and I'll explain this in a bit more detail, but as a female, you kind of you do have days and weeks where you are a little bit lower on energy, and it started to take its toll. And I realized as I was working with more people, I felt like there was something missing, and they were not getting the support that they needed to reach their full potential. And it was that missing link again, like you talked about nutrition being the key. It's all well and good people going to train, isn't it? But if they're not getting that nutritional support, then they're not going to see they're not
going to see the results. No,
muscle gain. They're not going to get the toned look that they want, and this is why a lot of these slimming clubs don't work. So I then transitioned from the gym floor into becoming an online personal trainer. Again, still doing it part-time. And then sort of fast forward to 2020, when I gave birth to my son. We'd gone through lockdown.
That was lockdown time, yeah.
Lockdown time. I then had to completely adapt. So overnight, all the gyms shut. I had 30, 40 clients sat at home with gym plans that I'd written, thinking, oh, feck, like, what am I going to do here?
Yeah.
So the business then changed again, and I went fully, home-based workouts. We had to scrap the gym workouts. Everybody was getting the nutritional support again. But it was the perfect business to have at the time, because I after maternity, I went back to my job, but I went back part-time. But before I went back, when I was on mat leave, I mean, I went back to work pretty much straight away. I had the baby here, breastfeeding him here, and I had my laptop here on the corner of the sofa, and I was, typing and chatting, voice noting clients on my phone whilst having a baby hanging off my left boob, feeling like a milking cow. But I made it work, because I got very, very clever with my time management and my organization. And I think you asked me before about how I've managed to do this and how I did it alongside a job. It was being very compartmentalized, and it was also making a lot of personal sacrifices, if I'm honest. People will say, you can do it all. I've been guilty of saying that. I am now happy to, hold my hand up and say, no, you can't.
No, can't.
Something has to break, and something
something has to give. Yeah.
So, for example, when my baby was sleeping, most other mums would be taking a nap themselves, or they'd be washing clothes, or they'd be, prepping food. I was working.
You're working, yeah.
Because if I didn't, the business would break. And I wasn't prepared for my business to break, because I knew in the back of my mind, this business is going to last. This is its longevity for me and for my son, and I can't let it break. So in a way, I guess I broke a little bit, and the household broke, for the sake of keeping the business going. And I think, well, there were a lot of long days, and I think just before it took me about just over 12 months to transition out of the business. And I remember quite a lot of days where I was in tears. And, I remember speaking to a friend, and I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm literally breaking, like something has to give. I cannot do this anymore. And I spoke to a very well-known businessman, actually, from the local area. He's built loads of businesses, and I remember speaking to him just for a little bit of sort of, I guess, a bit of moral support, really, and a bit of guidance. And we were talking about, how long do you think this is going to take me before I can actually cut something loose? Because I can't keep doing this. And how long do you think it's going to take me before I can get myself to a position where, I can even, get myself a mortgage, because I didn't have a mortgage at the time. And he said, listen, you're going to be on your knees, and you're probably going to be on your knees for at least another 12 months. And he was right.
Yeah.
But, that's the answer, really. How did I manage to transition? There was a lot of hard days, and there was a lot of long days, and it was taking my laptop to bed until 1 a.m, 2 a.m, then getting up for work at 7.
Wow.
And dropping the baby off at nursery. So it's not been easy.
That's intense, yeah.
But I wouldn't bloody change it.
Because that's you, though. I'm
not saying that I do that now, but it was worth it. You see these memes.
But these things kind of shape you to be who you are in the end, anyway, don't they? Because I feel like they do make you a better, in your case, a better coach, because of going through that and having to graft and work so hard. You do know that at the end of it, you've got a very good product at the end of it, because you know how much you've put into it, all those late nights and early mornings and doing things and juggling and having to face mom guilt and all this.
It's
the worst. It is the absolute worst. And I remember going through the same when I was still working the gym floor, I mean, I was barely at home because you've literally got to spend your life in there to get any clients in. It's the only way you can like get clients in, and you end up spending so much time out there away from your babies. And and mine were old enough to let me know that actually they are missing me. So and it was
So
horrible.
how did you balance that then? How did you balance that feeling of,
Um,
of the
I,
work and
I
then the
don't think I
meal?
did balance it. I don't, in the end, I had to give it up because, as you say, something has to give.
It
And
has to
if it
give, doesn't it?
wasn't that, it was always going to be either my marriage or, really miserable kids, basically, and I didn't want it to get to that point because especially with them going to school, it would have affected their school life as well. And the last thing I wanted is being called into school saying like your kids look a bit like
No.
not very happy these days. What's going on at home? And they're very quick to pick up on stuff like this at school. So I knew that that was going to come at some point, and I wasn't prepared to
No.
to have that. So yeah, I had to give that up because there was just no way I could carry it on. And I mean, lockdown was almost a blessing in disguise because I don't think that I would have made that decision sooner if lockdown hadn't happened. So when lockdown happened and I ended up like spending, that amount of time with them, going back into that setting for me was like, oh, I don't think I can do this anymore. I
No.
just it's
No.
not happening.
No.
As much as it's my passion and it's something that I really enjoy doing, it took the joy out of it somehow.
And I bet as well there's something in that in terms of your maybe like your subconscious and your nervous system, because you'd felt that pain of pushing yourself to that extreme and almost being at breaking point or being at breaking
Yeah.
point, that your body and your mind was probably telling you, we don't want to go there again.
Don't want to go there again. Yeah, yeah. And I remember Anita, my boss. We had like that first staff meeting
Yeah.
when we went back, and she picked up on it. She came to me later on, and I said, "Carol, are you all right?" Because I don't think. Are you sure you're okay? And I just, you know what I'm like. I'd never say that I'm not all right. I'm I'm always fine, even then
Yeah.
I'm on death's
Yeah.
door. But I'll be like, it's
Yeah.
fine. It's all good.
Everything's great.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
breaking, but I'm
fantastic. I'm
great.
great. But really, you're like,
I'm
no.
dying inside.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am actually dying, but I'm not willing to admit that. But yeah, she did pick up on it and she went like, yeah, I can tell there's something not quite right. And if you're not all right, please really just tell me. And at that point, I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't want to say that I was giving it up. So I kind of thought like I owe myself at least maybe another 4 weeks, say, just to see how I get on.
Yeah.
Never made it to those 4 weeks. I just could not do it. So yeah, so when I said that to her in the end, she just went like, yeah, I knew it. From the moment we had that meeting, I could just tell your way of being was so different because generally I'm quite a bubbly person.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm not, I don't like misery and I don't like being miserable. Even when I'm feeling rubbish, I try and see the bright side of
Have
things.
to see the positive side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I just try, I laugh about things because it's my way of coping with stuff. And I don't like the feeling of being sad. I just don't, I detest it. I don't like it. Some people will argue like, how do you manage to do that? But it's just, I think it's also going back to my background as well. We did have quite a few horrible things happening around us all the time. And you can't stay sad and you can't stay miserable. You kind of have to dance in the rain, if you will.
Yeah.
That's what we've always, my family, we've always joked about stuff, even the most morbid stuff. We laugh about it because it's the only way you can get through
The only way.
really horrific things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I couldn't get back into it at all. I just could not do it. So that was that, and that's what had to give in the end. So as you say, I completely understand where you're coming from with that one. So in relation to that, you have actually explained. My next question was, how have you found transitioning from corporate to full-time, being your own boss? And you've kind of explained that already. But what I would like you to tell us now is, what advice would you give anyone who say is going through similar, say they have a corporate job or a job that they absolutely hate and don't like being in, and they're thinking, I've got a passion that I want to follow. What advice would you give them? What steps what things should they be aware of before they commit to such a such a big decision, if you will, especially when it comes to the finances and that?
I think, I mean, the answer is kind of dependent on their life situation. There is some generic advice I'd give, but for example, you know, with my situation, it was kind of fight or flight. I was a single parent, and I had that crossroads of, right, I can either fold business and just become this regular part-time 9 to 5 mum who, you know, will potentially be looking at sitting, you know, at home receiving benefits and, you know, not really, you know, pursuing what I want to pursue, or it's go all in. Now, not everybody will be in the same situation. So I think if you are somebody who, you know, does have some support, some financial support, maybe you are in a, you know, a partnership or a marriage, then you might have a little bit more security behind you. But what I would say to everybody is there's going to be some risk involved, but do not mix stupidity with risk. I do believe in calculated risk. My advice is to follow your heart. But what I would do is make sure that you have, I mean, with me, if we're talking practicalities, have at least, you know, 3 months worth of outgoings in your account before you jump ship. Do your research. So, you know, make sure that you are, you know, looking at your customer base, look at the market. Don't just look at the current market. Look at what's likely to change in the next 12 months. You know, is your industry a threat? Is AI a threat? You know, these are all the things that people don't always talk about. You know, I've known people who have gone and quit their corporate job, and, you know, a few months down the line, some new legislation's come in and it's completely wiped them out. Now, had they have done their due diligence, they would have seen that that was coming. You know, it's not all bright, shiny, you know, oh, live the dream, follow your heart, you know, take the leap. Yes, there is an element of that. And yes, you should follow your dreams, but don't be so stupid that you're not kind of foreseeing problems, because if there is a problem that's going to happen, it will happen. So I think that would be my advice. Financially, obviously, you know, make sure that you've got some savings. Again, it's industry dependent. Experience. So what I would never have done what I've done if I hadn't had all that experience. So, you know, I can only talk to other PTs. If you're a PT on the gym floor and you've, say, only been doing it a few months and you've got a nice cushy corporate job, you know, that pays well like mine did, I definitely wouldn't be jumping ship out of your comfy corporate job to then become, you know, an online fitness CEO with just a handful of clients and only a few months of experience, because it's a completely different ball game. You know, being a PT is one thing, but being a business owner, completely different. And I do think that leveraging and not just going cold turkey, so making sure that you do it gradually over time, you know, in my case, it was several years, is going to build your confidence to the point where you've market tested, you've got your testimonials, you've been able to make mistakes and then refine your business on the back of those. Then I would go for it, especially if you're on your own, because as a female on your own, that feeling of, holy shit, this is all on me and I've got to pay my bills. There's no feeling like it in order of sort of putting that rocket up your bum. And it does make, you know, it's like we've had the conversation, you're going to make it work because you have to. But I think it's different scenarios, isn't it, for different people? So I think your mic might have gone, Carol. I can't hear your sound at my end. I don't know whether it's you can hear me, I can't hear you. Houston, we have a problem. Oh, there you go. You're back. She's back.
Am I back?
Back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think just one thing that I'd like to add there that's crucial.
Yeah.
Is surround yourself with, I'm going to say like-minded people, but I'm going to say surround yourself with people who are doing better than you. Because you never ever think that you know it all, because you don't. And I think
you don't. No.
surround yourself with people who've done it. Don't take advice from people who haven't done it. That would be another a tip from me, because there's a lot of people who talk the talk and they'll give you advice in life, relationships, business, and they're not in a position to do that. I definitely wouldn't listen to those people.
No, yeah. But how do you distinguish between somebody who's just talking, like, people talk all the time, and those who are actually genuine? How do you figure that out, that, this person is actually successful because of, they are, or, they're just one of those social media influencers, say, for example, who just spout out things, but they don't really have the evidence to back it up?
All right, so I'll give you this example. So I invested a lot of money in business mentoring. I took money out of a house deposit, which was a big deal because that was my livelihood and that was my son's livelihood, and I knew that I had to take, a calculated risk, and I could easily have laid that money with a charlatan, because let's be honest, there's tons of them in the online coaching world. As you and I know, there's tons of the business mentoring world, everybody claiming that they're making six figures and claiming that they've done this and that. Go straight to the horse's mouth. So again, it's about due diligence, isn't it? So when I'm not about to hand over 20 grand to some idiot unless I've spoken to the people that I've worked with them. So, in my case, I actually spoke to real life people who are genuinely, earning the six-figure salaries on the back of using the business mentor that I used. So just research and talk to, look at testimonials, but actually don't just read them, online. Try and talk to people that have been through it and just ask them, what was your experience? And if they're not saying that, they were blown away, then don't bother.
Don't do that. Don't do it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So we've gone through some quite heavy stuff there, and I feel like we need to bring it to a light-hearted note a bit now.
Right, then I'm going to put what's on if we're going light-hearted.
We're going light-hearted. So spruce yourself up, and let's dive into a favorite one. So we're going to go into the bodybuilding side. Which is always a fun topic. For me, the podcast is very much about, I wanted to center around, as much as I'm talking about everything else, it really is, it's come about because I feel it's come about because of my bodybuilding experience. And I feel like it's something that I want to explore a bit more on when it comes to athletes and their experiences in bodybuilding, how bodybuilding has impacted their lives in whichever way, because I know it has impacted mine, and it would be nice to get that theme going, and as much as I can, with the guests that I bring on, mostly focusing on that, if they're athletes or they've had something to do with that. So my view of bringing together like athletes on a platform where they can express themselves honestly and say what their experiences have been like, in an effort to help people who are aspiring to go into the sport. Because I feel I feel these days bodybuilding has very much become like a flex, if you will, something that you do just to show off, or because you feel like, oh, it's all the glamour and it's all the makeup and all the, you're showing yourself off on stage. And sometimes it misses, people miss what the point of bodybuilding is. At the end of the day, it is a sport, and it's not just like a beauty pageant, say. It is a sport, and it's an extreme sport. So let's talk about you as a bodybuilder, and what your experiences have been when you were doing your bodybuilding. What sort of journey did bodybuilding take you through, and what were your experiences going through that, both the positives and the negatives, please?
Okay. So I go back to sort of where I got into it. I was about 21, and that was my sort of first experience in a sort of spit and sawdust gym, if you will. And I think it wasn't when I sort of took it seriously at that stage. It was more of just a recreational thing that I built into my existing fitness routine. So I was a bit of a cardio bunny. I went to the gym, did half an hour on the treadmill, did some free weights, bicep curls, and then I kind of left the gym, didn't really know much about bodybuilding. It was more about just keeping fit. Went into a bodybuilding gym. I remember doing my first squat. It was on a Smith machine. And I remember the feeling after it, thinking, oh God, like my legs feel like,
yeah,
I
that's
don't know what
worked
this feeling is,
something.
but something's happened here.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of became part of my fitness regime. That's obviously the non-competitive side. So I wasn't one of these people that was obsessed. My life wasn't ruled by it. It was more of an enjoyment thing. And, I liked to feel strong. And I think, again, I've always been into, I say I've been into, it's not like I've actually gone out there and kickboxed someone to death or whatever. But as I was growing up, I was always around male-dominated sports. My dad used to take me to wrestling matches, to boxing matches. I obviously, like I said, grew up in the 80s, 90s where you had films like Rocky, Karate Kid. And I kind of felt like it was a male-dominated thing to be in a gym. But I was a bit of a tomboy growing up. And so I kind of liked the sort of, the roughness of it. And the fact that back in the day, you didn't have to turn up in your matching Gymshark sports and stimpies. I hate that now. I don't, and I'll be honest, you asked me
you're gonna get a backlash from this,
I will, but and I'll explain why I don't like that, because I feel like it's become a fashion parade. I feel like the focus has been taken away from health and fitness and the team spirit, and I just feel like it's become a very commercialized, glossy thing to be seen to be doing. And each to their own. I'm not saying, if you want to go and, get involved in the trends, that's absolutely fine. But that's not why I got into it. And I think, for me, it was just another way to exercise, because I've always been someone that's enjoyed, I used to be into athletics. I used to do hurdling, running, hockey, rugby, all sorts of stuff. And then I just kind of enjoyed it, to be honest. It was an enjoyment factor. But then the competitive bodybuilding, so moving on into that, how I got into that is I went to watch a NABBA show in Southport when I was in my 20s. And my jaw dropped on the floor, because I looked at the women on the stage and I was like, Jesus Christ, like these women are phenomenal. They look like the cover of Muscle and Fitness magazine, and I'd never seen anything like it in real life. I thought that only existed in America,
in a magazine.
It was a magazine. I didn't realize people could look like that, and I was, whoa, wow, these women look like Wonder Woman. I would love to do that. Like, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how you look like that. I didn't know how to get there, and it kind of planted a seed. And then it wasn't until I was 30 that I actually decided to compete and took it seriously. That's 9 years ago. So anyone that's listening that's in their 30s and thinking, oh, I'm past it now, I can't do it. No, you can. I went to a Body Power Expo in Birmingham back in the day when, Body Power was amazing. And it was like, again, all about the grit and the strength rather than just commercialism. And I looked at people on stage, and I was with a group of friends who were all like Arnie fans, Kai Green fans, and, all sort of loved the original bodybuilding, if you will. And I said to them, in 12 months' time, I am going to stand on that stage. Give me 12 months and I promise you I'm going to do it. The following year, the same group of friends came with me again, but they were supporting me when I stood on stage. And that sparked the journey for me.
Yeah.
Sparked the interest in, competitive bodybuilding. And I then went on to do a further 9-10 shows and, got my British figure championship. So I started off in bikini, got my British figure championship in 2019, and then just hung my heels up, if I'm honest, and wanted to focus on the coaching side. But talking about the negatives, because I know that's what you want, because you want a little bit of juice as well for the old podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, we always want a bit of juice for the podcast. Go on.
I am a prep coach. Obviously, you know that. I love prep coaching, right? Because I am phenomenally
Competitive, yes,
Yeah.
very much so.
I we are
I
going
would
to win.
know.
We are going to win,
Yeah,
right? If you come to work with me, you're a winner. Yeah. And I've said this to people. I said it to a lady on the phone the other day. I said, I don't care, if you're coming in because it's on your bucket list, we're prepping you to win,
yeah.
not messing about. And for me, I feel like it's become a sellout.
Mm.
And I know there are other people who agree with me and there are people that disagree. I don't care if they disagree with me. It's become a money-making machine. And obviously, people have to make a living out of it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have federations. We wouldn't have, the competitive bodybuilding world. But it's become this kind of monster where it's kind of you get the people who are doing it for the reasons that I think you should do it for, which is the challenge yourself mentally, challenge yourself physically, do it because of the love of the sport. But then it's brought the monster out, I think, in some people. So
Yeah.
you see a lot of narcissism in competitive bodybuilding.
Mm.
It's all for the gram. Yeah. It's become like you said, it's become about the glamour. It's become a beauty show. And again, each to their own. That's fine. But I feel like it's brought out this ugly side of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where people will kind of become so blinded that everything else around them falls apart.
Mm.
And then it's like you do have to go into it with, ultimate determination. This is what I always say to people when they start working with us to prep. You have to be all or nothing
Yeah.
with content. But I think what it does is it shows the people who are in it because of the love of the sport, and it also shows the people that they just want to do it because they want the attention and they want to be on the gram and they want all the likes and the rest of it. Again, each their own. But for me, my heart lies in the true essence of what I feel bodybuilding is, and that's that it's the ultimate challenge.
It
It's
is.
not one that wants to go and walk on, and do like peaks and triathlons and competitions. It's just a different form. It's just that, but in a different form. What's your take on that? Like, what do you feel?
Yes. So for me, it's as I've pointed out, I just feel like obviously I'm not an expert. I've only just come into bodybuilding, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about bodybuilding because I don't.
No, I'm not. I'm not a judge in a show or anything.
No, but I feel like it's the only sport that I can think of that somebody will just wake up one day and say, "I'll do that." Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like
yeah,
if you think about things like athletics or whatever other sport you want to think, you
yeah.
actually have to go through a lot of grueling training and
Years of
take,
training, being primed and prepped for.
yeah, for
Yeah,
you
yeah,
to become like a top athlete in that sport, you just don't wake up one day and decide, oh, because people tell me I look like this, I should stand on stage. Do you know what I mean? But it feels like for bodybuilding, that's what actually happens. You go to the gym for a year or 6 months and you manage to achieve like a decent shape, nothing wrong with people doing that, but then you get people starting to say to you like, oh, why don't you go on stage, you look great in wellness or you look great in this category, and I'm thinking like, no, it's the literally this is an actual sport and it should be respected for what it is. And
respect. That's the
yeah,
key word.
yeah,
Respect as a sport.
and I just feel like it's not being respected as a sport, and that's my opinion, and everybody else has got their own way of seeing things, but that's how I see it. And I feel like we should really focus on going back to the grassroots and going back to what the essence of bodybuilding is.
Yes.
Because like you, the first time I went to a bodybuilding show back home, I was like, wow, and it for me it was different because there were no women, it was all men. for
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
us it was
yeah,
like it
yeah.
was taboo
We
for
used to be
women
the
to like
minority.
parade themselves in that sort of outfit in front of people, and it would have been very sexualized anyway from where I come from. And so it was, but it's not sexualized when men are putting pants on and standing in front of people, which is like double standards, but that's a topic for another day.
Oh, we could talk about that for
We can talk about that another, that's a whole other episode, because again, I want to go into the cultural differences because I've got the advantage of seeing things on both sides. And I want to actually explore that a bit more on coming episodes, just like how different things are based on where people live and what people's beliefs are, and just explore that and bring people from my side as well into the pod so that we can explore all that together. But yeah,
that'd be really interesting though.
Yeah, I've got, yeah, you can see my brain's working, can't you?
You can see the cogs turning.
But yeah, for me, that's how I feel. I just feel like bodybuilding hasn't got that respect as a sport, and people just jump into it willy-nilly, really, for lack of a better way of expressing it.
Yeah, I mean, we're in that era of everyone's a winner, aren't we? You know.
Yeah, everyone's a winner. Everyone wants to do everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're gonna do the sport, do it properly. If you're gonna do it, do you know what I mean?
You've got to be realist though as well. I mean, would you tell a 4-foot person that they're going to become a pro basketball player in the States? You're up against 7-foot guys, you know.
I know.
So
no, it's not
why
going to happen.
Someone that isn't muscular, you know, hasn't got the, because let's be honest, genetics do play a part in it. Whilst you can train your ass off and you can develop muscle, but as a female, that's bloody hard. You do have to also have some genetic support.
100%.
I just feel like more coaches as well should just be honest with people and say, don't think it's for you, or actually, you're going to need a couple of years before you do this and be competitive.
Yeah.
And that's the key word, isn't it? It's a competition. It's not just I just fancy doing it this year, so I'm just going to do it. It's you're going in it to compete.
Yeah. But I also feel like sometimes some of the coaches that you get out there are just out to make as much money as they want. Yeah, so they'll just say like, yeah, we'll prep you for 6 months. It's fine. You'll go on stage. It's okay. And then you get those people on stage who look like they've literally not prepared for it at all, which is an insult for people who've really worked hard to get to that point.
It backfires on the coach because, you know, if you'd have given the proper advice out and not taken them on, then, you know, it wouldn't reflect badly on your, you know, brand as a coaching service.
Yeah.
And I understand sometimes there are difficult conversations and, you know, emotions can come into play, and you may end up coaching someone that you think, actually, you know, you do need longer, but they won't listen. But I think it's best to not work with those people that don't want to listen, because, you know, ultimately it will reflect badly on your brand.
Yeah, that's what that brings me to this next bit quite nicely, actually. How do you cope as a coach? I know I co-coach with you as well, so I've got my views on it as well. But how do you cope with those clients that come in very rigid in their ways and their beliefs in how to do things, and you're introducing your own way of doing things because you know it's a way that works? How do you turn that around then for them to have the belief that what you're saying actually works, and for them to get into that frame of mind of accepting what your new way is when you meet like challenging clients?
I think first and foremost, when you become a coach, you've got to remember that you're working with people, and none of us are going to be 100% the same in terms of, you know, how we live our lives, how we think, how we follow instructions, how we view ourselves, you know, where our confidence is at. So you've got to, again, this is where the experience comes in. You kind of have to know the right things to ask and observe. I think observe is a good one, because you'll start to notice with certain clients, they'll have patterns of behavior. Now, sometimes people will come in and you might have a little bit of I don't want to say raucous, that's not the right word, a little bit of sort of toing and froing in terms of trying to, you know, get them to sort of follow and implement what you're asking them to do. And sometimes, you know, with certain personalities, there can be a little bit of, you know, there can be differences. Sometimes it's just a case of them bedding in because maybe they've not worked with a coach before. Maybe what you're asking them to do is alien, you know. But some people are just not coachable.
Unfortunately.
And I think you've got to, you as a coach, you need to understand that you need to have coaching skills, because being a coach isn't telling someone what to do. It's not telling them what to do. It's asking them questions in order for them to come to the realization of what they should do. And whilst we know scientifically what to do with their diet and what sort of training, you know, to give them for them to see the physical results, in terms of the behavioral side, a lot of that really should be flipped back on the client, because otherwise, how are they ever going to learn? How are they going to build initiative, you know, to look after themselves long term? And it comes through experience. You know, you will see quite a lot of coaches who they've been with an online coach as a client, they get amazing results. 2 weeks after leaving the coach, they'll set up on Facebook as an online coach. Then within 2 months, they go, F this.
Yeah, it's too hard.
Can't be dealing with someone who won't follow the diet. And it's like, but you cannot treat every client and every person the same. People are individual.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's just it's having the patience, and it's having compassion, and it's understanding as well that you've in there's this saying, isn't there? And I use it a lot. We use it a lot. If I'm your friend, I'm not your coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's understanding that people have real life pressures going on, and that actually sometimes you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to adapt as a coach. You're going to have that understanding. And it's knowing and working with that person long enough, knowing when they need a bit of a hug and when they need a bit of a talking to, as in putting that mirror up and going, you need to face your own BS here.
Yes.
This is why you're in coaching. And if you don't do that, then you're not doing your job as a coach, are you? So
no, exactly. Love that. I thought that we would it's we've covered quite a lot, and it's gone really quick, and I feel like there's still quite a lot for us to talk about, and we probably will be here all night. So I'm going to try and wrap it up so that people don't actually fall asleep, and say that I will have to bring you back on, coach. I will have to bring you back on, because there are other things that I wanted to talk to you about, but I feel like if we carry on, it's just going to end up being like one massive long episode, which nobody really wants.
So let's call it part one.
Yeah, so we'll call this part one, and we will pick up from it. But I just want to finish on something quite mellow and cute. So
you like
something cute. And it's to do with you, really. You have got the most gorgeous boy like ever. I look at him and I want to just, he's too cute. That's why I said, yeah, he's too boy. So I want us really to wrap up by you talking to us about motherhood, and what your life has been like since. I know you've touched a bit on it, like, but just go back to it a bit more and tell us what your life really has been like since you came along, and what things keep you awake at night, apart from him, of course. When you think about the kind of life that you want him to have, and how does that manifest itself in your day-to-day upbringing of him as your son?
Do you know what? I sort of growing up, I wasn't around babies very much. I, up until a point, didn't think I wanted children. And then when I got pregnant, I felt this tremendous love for this baby, for this child that I'd never met. And I used to talk to him every day. Whilst I was sat at home. I was working from home, and I remember everything was different, my layout then, but I had my dining room and my living room in one. I used to sit in my dining room every day and have my bump, and I got to a point, obviously, where I couldn't get him under the table, but every day I used to talk to him, and they say, Mummy loves you, Mummy will always love you. And that's something that I said to him every day when he was in my belly, and I still say it to him now when I kiss him goodnight. And being a mum is, and it's cliche, but it's the most heartwarming, loving feeling that you can have.
Mm.
It's also been the hardest thing
Yeah.
as well that I've done. But also, I think maybe because I hadn't to a point told myself that I wanted children, I kind of surprised myself at how well and how maternal I actually am, and how well I kind of, gone into that role.
You do not think you would be as maternal as you are then?
No, I didn't think I would, and I don't know why I didn't think I would. But I think again, it's just because I wasn't around a lot of babies, and because I was an older mum, geriatric mum. I've just done a podcast on that actually myself. But a lot of my friends had either already had their babies, so they were older, or a lot of my close friends had decided, that they didn't want children, or they haven't been in the position to have children. So I kind of felt a little bit like out of sync, really, and I felt a little bit on my own with it. But life has been beautiful with him in it, and it's given me purpose, and it's given me meaning, and it's given me future, because there have been quite a few times, over the past couple of years where I've thought to myself, I don't think I would have kept going without him. He is the reason that I do what I do. He's the reason that I keep going, and he's the reason that I look, to the future, because I see, he's at the center of that, and everything that I want to do. I want to build family around him. I want to build my business for him, and it's everything is for him. It's been tough though. It's been tough because I've been a single parent for just over 2 years, and nothing can prepare you for that.
Not at all.
Nothing can prepare you for that. It's, you're on your own. You do it all on your own. You're looking after you on your own. When you go to bed at night and you are, you have your baby in their cot or in their bed in the other room, wherever it is they are, you never switch off, because you are in protection mode, so it's a lot on the nervous system, because you're always thinking, are they okay? Am I doing enough? Are we going to make enough money to cover our bills? Am I giving him enough time? Am I, I went through the whole mum guilt thing with, if I'm going to make this business work, I'm going to have to put him back into nursery more. And I didn't want to do that, because I was very conscious about being a mother. Being there in his formative years,
Absolutely.
the first few years are the most important in
They
terms.
really are. They really are. And it's a big, especially when they're that young, you really just want to, you feel like you don't feel like you're the one to mold them, if you will. So, and it means you being present in their lives, a lot more than you being away working. So the mom guilt thing is absolutely awful. So hats off to you, though, I have to say, you've done bloody brilliant, fantastic job. And he's just, as I say, the most gorgeous boy ever. And you should be proud. You really should, because you've done this, and against all odds, and with everything being thrown at you, you've taken it and you've done it. And I'm proud of you, and you've done brilliant. So
I know you've been there for me a few times, haven't you? When I've
yeah,
reached the end.
yeah, reached the end of times. No, it's and I always will be anyway. You know that. And as I say, it's something that I really look up to you for, because I feel like it's something that not many people can pull off. So again, you're up there with people that I place on a place where they've done amazing, and you have done amazing. So
I mean, the straight jacket's hanging on the wall, but I'm not in it yet. So
it's not.
we're all right. We're okay at the
We're
moment.
okay, yeah, but well, you're not in it yet, so that's a good thing. And I don't think you'll be in it. I won't let you go in it anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, it has been absolutely lovely having you on the pod today, my lovely. And I really look forward to going into part 2 of this because we're not done.
Been a blast.
But
Absolutely.
this is us though. Even on our business meetings, we end up just
Go
chatting
on and on and on,
random
don't we?
things, and then we just, time just goes. But yeah, I love it. I love it. I love all of it. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. And as I say, I look forward to going on another episode with you again. And we'll call that part 2 of this one. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. And yeah, we will pick up from this one. Just quickly, will you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you if they do want to have your services or our services, shall I say, which is the best way to get to you?
Absolutely. So if you want to find me on social media, go to Instagram and look for Lucy Anjuna. That's Anjuna. You can find me on Facebook. Feel free to send me a friend request. I have a website, which is lucyanjuna.com. And I do have a new podcast channel, which has just gone out, and it is hosted on Spotify, Amazon Music, and a couple of other places. But if you search for Living and Loving Over 30, you will find that. And I will have Carol on there, actually. I will have you coming on the show. But I just want to say thank you so much for having me on tonight. And I hope that your listeners have taken, some value, some comfort, some laughs, some whatever it is. I hope they've taken something away. And
hopefully. And yeah, I will post all your social handles on the notes below below this video. And so if anybody would like to get in touch with us, obviously Lucy and I work together. And we don't just take everybody, as you will have seen on our socials. We are very selective on who we pick because it has to work for both of us and you have to fit in with the rest of the team. So again, thank you everyone for listening, and thank you to my lovely coach and friend for coming on, and we will speak to you soon. So I'll say bye-bye for now and take care, guys. See you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
And just before you go, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel so you don't ever miss any upcoming episodes. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Carol West Coaching. Are you interested in coaching or joining our team as a client? We offer photo shoot, body transformations, as well as bodybuilding competition prep packages. The team at the Elevate Health and Body Transformation Program are ready and waiting to help you achieve and maintain your dream physique. Whether you're looking to step on stage or just want to do it for yourself, you can send us a DM and we'll get you on the road to achieving a lean and fit physique. Bye for now.